Welcome to Built, Trusted, Chosen, the podcast for leaders and marketers in trades and construction. Hosted by Wes Towers from Uplift 360.
G'day, Anita. It's fantastic to have you on the podcast today. You were referred on, and I heard lots of good things about you, serving various industries, but businesses in the trades and construction you're really familiar with. But I'll get you just to introduce yourself really quickly. We'll unpack it as we go, of course, but tell us all about what you're up to.
Fantastic. So yes, my name's Anita Marshall from Gold Coast Business Brokers. And so we sell successful businesses. And thank you so much for having me along today. I'm really excited to have a chat and appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, so previously we discussed some key things about trades businesses, construction businesses, about getting them having the mindset of getting ready for sale, even if you don't intend on selling right away, or in fact never selling. If it's something you want to pass as a legacy to your kids or whatever it is, that perspective of always building with the view of one day potentially being able to sell. Do you want to speak to that?
Yes, absolutely. So look, I think a lot of tradies just run their business however they want to run them. They have not got in mind any type of exit at all. And, my father was a builder, and he most certainly didn't sell his business when he retired. He just retired. And, the thing is that your business is an asset. And if you can make that more valuable as you're building the business or as you're working in the business, so that one day you've got that asset to sell and exit with some money for all your hard-earned, hours that you put into it, it's far better than just closing it down or passing it on to a family member. If you can still do that if you want to, but at least it gives you options, because sometimes family members are not interested in taking on a business. So it's good to have that option.
Yeah, and you're building in the right foundations for no matter what, however you want to exit, because all of us need to exit at some stage. We're not going to live forever. We're not going to be capable of doing the work
That's
that
right.
we once did.
And that's right.
Yeah.
The worst thing you do is think 6 months before you've decided to sell, my gosh, what have I got to do to get this business ready for sale? Because you want to make your business more attractive than the same type of business next door that's trying to sell. And if you're trying to do that in a really fast amount of time, it's going to be a nightmare and a headache. So if you want to get the best price possible, you should be thinking about all these little things that you can be doing as you're going along.
Yeah, 100%. And so what are some of the key problems that cause a business not to be able to be sold? What do people forget to build into their business and their structures?
Yes. So look, number one thing is you have to get your business to a profitable level. So sometimes tradies will be tempted to say, I'll give you a cheaper price for cash. Well, if you're thinking about selling your business one day, that's not a good idea. So, ideally a business buyer will want to see 3, maybe 4 years of solid financials, and they want to be able to see what income and revenue the business has had. If you're looking at selling in 1 year and you've taken a whole heap of cash throughout your trading years, and we can't prove that revenue is consistent, it does make it really hard to sell. So, my first piece of advice is, although cash might be tempting for a business owner, leave it and put it through the business so that you've got a really nice, profitable business. And you also know exactly what income you've got coming in properly, not, if you're taking cash here and there, it is very tricky. The other thing that, the other thing that I would be doing is, starting to set up some systems and processes so that you can hand over easily to another person. So if someone was to walk into your business today and you knew that you only had 1 month to train them in your business, if you've got absolutely no systems, processes, templates for anything, workflows, it's very hard to teach someone in a short space of time. And if you're going to sell your business, you don't want to be stuck there for a year trying to help someone work out how they can do your business. So, some sort of, and even if it's just a word-based procedure manual. Get some systems written down on how you do your quoting, where you get your leads from, and those type of things.
Yeah.
Another really big tip is every single time you get an inquiry, be entering them into a database. So you don't be just, "Oh, mate, no, I can't help you. We're booked out." Or, they've decided not to go ahead for whatever reason. Make sure you're entering every single person into that database, because they would then be a source of potential leads for a buyer. So if we've got, say, 2 plumbing businesses for sale, and one plumbing business has put into a CRM or even into a Google database every single person that's inquired, and the other plumbing business hasn't, but they've got the same number of, repeat clients, you're more likely to sell that business that's got that larger database, because they've got lots of potential leads that they could get one of their admin staff onto to contacting, saying, "Is there anything we can help you with?" You've got a lot bigger database to market to.
Yeah, 100%. And the database can be so helpful for a potential purchaser. They might have intentions to expand the business into new areas. Maybe they're a Sparky. So for the international guest, a Sparky is an electrician here in Australia, and maybe they're bringing in, they're buying a plumbing business, and there's that potential to leverage a database in so many ways. But there's so many potential problems when we're building a business that relies on us as the founder. And it's how we usually start. We need to start where we're at. But I had a guest on not so long ago now, and he was hospitalized significantly. I think he nearly died. And so the business was all run around him. He had a team, but his wife had to try pick up the pieces. He was not in any capacity to run the business at all. He was in the hospital for quite some time. And so even just basic things, it seemed basic, but to know who to pay the invoices and who's and salaries and all of this stuff, because it was all in his head, he was super stuck. I mean, that's an extreme scenario, but I mean, as a trader, you might do your back, and then all of a sudden you can't be on the tools so much for a while. So building these systems into your business so other people can do the work, so powerful. Even if you don't intend to sell, the same philosophies are so valuable throughout your business and your journey. I just think just safeguarding what you're doing is so important. So what do you think with the selling of the business? The other thing too I wanted to mention. So you said about people doing the cash jobs, the cashies. Internet. I don't know if that's what they call them overseas, but here in Australia, tradies are pretty keen to do a cash job where they can, which I completely understand. But I was talking to another guy just at the pub having a drink. He's in the trades, and he couldn't get finance, couldn't get a loan for his home because his books are not legitimate. He's not reporting true income.
Yeah, well, that's another tricky part of it, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is that if you've got yourself, that's right. And if you've got yourself a great accountant, I mean, there's lots of expenses that you can be running through your business that is going to bring down your net profit that we can add back as business brokers. So depreciation is one really good example. If you have depreciation written into your expenses, we can add that back to your bottom line. Your profit looks better when we do that, but you haven't paid tax on that. So, I think it's really important to always use a good accountant. But, that cash is a big problem for tradies, and we see that over and over. And, it's very hard to sell a secret. So if you've got cash and we can't prove it to someone, it is trickier. So you're going to get less for your business because that isn't able to be proven as revenue. Back onto your story about the guy that became unwell. Well, I just had a phone call yesterday from a gentleman that's very sick. He's hurt his back and he has to sell urgently, and he is the only person in that business. So, he doesn't have an option of handing that over to someone. He needs to sell it. Ideally that you don't want to be putting yourself into that position. And many years ago, I did a really fantastic Tony Robbins course in Sydney when I was a business owner myself. And, his advice was to everyone in the room, and this included tradies, all types of businesses. You really ideally want to get yourself to a point where there's two people in the business that can do every single role. And I took that on board because you don't know when something might come up, and something is always going to come up sooner or later. So,
Yeah.
you want to be prepared for that. But the other reason is that, sometimes a staff member is incredibly invaluable when it's coming to a sale as well, because you can be handing over a business that's coming with a team that has relationships with key people. And that's very attractive to a buyer. The less involvement that an owner has, the higher multiple a business gets. So,
Yeah.
if the business owner is 100% owner operated, that gets a lower multiple than a business that is partially managed or even fully managed by a team and the business owner just overlooks the business. I mean, that's the perfect situation to get yourself into. Not always easy to do, but perfect situation when you're going to sell, but also when you own the business. You want to make
Yeah.
it as easy as you possibly can for yourself as you're running your business.
Yeah, to future-proof yourself. That's interesting point that you picked up from Tony Robbins, to have two people capable of doing any one task. Because people get sick or what have you, or they leave and so on, just to build that resilience in as best you possibly can. With the valuation, so that we'll speak to the multiples a little bit and how that might work. And I suppose we'll speak mostly for the Australian, what the multiples might be in your typical trade. But also that I want to talk about the time frame people are kind of looking at. Is it a couple of years of books they want to see, or how does that all play out?
So generally speaking, we have an appraisal team that do all of our appraisals, and they've been doing that since 2004. So they're very experienced. What they do is they look at 4 years of profit loss balance sheets. Now, obviously, the most recent one is going to be the most important because they're going to see that, hopefully the business has grown over the years and wow, look what it's doing now. And then, of course, most buyers want to see potential. So, we'll
Yeah.
always say, these are avenues that that the owners haven't expanded on yet, and be selling a little bit of what could happen in the business. Although, just
Mm,
to clarify that, people don't pay anything for potential. They just want to see that there is potential. So most buyers want to buy something that's, yes, successful, it's running profitably. It's very hard to sell a business that's not running profitably, but they want to see that they would be able to purchase it, build on it, make more money out of it, and increase the value of their asset.
yeah. And so with the, I guess the reliable income where trades are able to do some form of recurring income, is that a possibility? I mean, I know one guy who has a subscription model for his maintenance related electrical works, and he's super keen to build that side of the business simply because he has the view that one day he'll sell. I think he's got a 5-6 year window where he wants to build something, exit, and so that's what he's focused on. Is that true? Is that the kind of thing people are most keen to purchase?
Absolutely. Anything that has a recurring revenue of a monthly amount is
Yeah.
gold to a buyer. It's probably a little bit trickier to try and get that sort of business model in a trade industry.
Yeah.
But if you can think of a way of doing it, I know that air conditioning cleaning companies, for example, a lot of
Mm.
those have regular maintenance for their corporate clients, and
Mm.
that would be considered, regular work. So I think that if
Yeah.
you can get your business doing that, as I said, might be a little bit trickier for a tradie, but if there's a way of making it happen and the tradie themselves would know whether that was a potential thing to have, then
Yeah.
by all means get that happening.
I think so. The ones that come to mind where you can do that is the minimum standards for rentals. If you're doing maintenance related works, all those are minimum standards. So the gas checking, the
Mm.
electricals, smoke alarms, these kind of things, whilst they feel like they're smaller jobs, they are recurring because people need them, every couple of years or year, whatever it is. I don't know if it's nationally, but I think smoke detectors are every year, and then gas might be every 2 years, and I think the electrical safety might be 2 years as well. So those kind of things, whilst they might not feel that enticing, certainly if you're building something to sell, if there's something like that that you can sort of focus on a little bit, would be pretty powerful. What other kind of things that can boost your end sale exit, price? Is there
Another thing is, your lead generation tools. So if you've got a fabulous website with some sort of lead generation, or well, you would know the terminology more than I would, where you've got a landing page. If you've got a landing page that automatically puts that client into your database when they've made an inquiry, then those sort of things where you're not having to constantly be ringing and chasing new business. So you've got some sort of lead source that
yeah,
is gold to a buyer. So, you make sure you've got a great website, landing page, automated name and address that comes back to you when they've put something into your website. That's very, very handy.
those digital
Keep
assets? Yeah, and building up even a ranking in Google. So I mean, this is my world. So if you can get a website that's ranking number one for your particular trade in your region, people want that, because that's hard to get, particularly in
100%.
a big city. Yeah.
Well, it's
So
not only hard to get, it takes a long time to build it to that point. So,
yeah,
if you're selling a business, it's, yes, Google ranking number one. And that's one of the questions that we ask when we're doing the appraisal, what's your social media and your website? And then we'll have a look at some of them and go, oh my gosh, their website's crap.
yeah,
So, you could be doing all these little things as you're building your business up.
yeah. Yeah, all these assets, if you buy a franchise, these are all the things you get. And that's why he spend a fortune, or sometimes spend a fortune getting a franchise, because all of these assets that people can just take them on, and they're done. So if you can build that into your own smaller business, someone can take it on, and it's just one less hassle for them. There's going to be teething
Right.
problem. Taking on a business, there's going to be, that learning and figuring out how it all works, even if you've got great systems. So the more you can have everything readied for them, the better. The one thing, so you touched on the databases, and just a tip from my perspective, being a marketing guy. So people build out their database with emails and so on, phone numbers, etc. But then they don't ever send anything to them, and so those stale email lists aren't anywhere near as valuable for the end user than an active list. Reason being, if you subscribe somehow and you end up on someone's database, but you don't hear from them for years, you've forgotten all about them. So once you send an email, they just unsubscribe. So the biggest reason people unsubscribe from a list is not because you've emailed too much. Oftentimes, it's because you've not emailed enough and they've forgotten who you are. So some of these things, these marketing cadences, I guess you would say, if you're active and you're doing the work so someone else can take it on, that's powerful as well.
100%. I 100% agree with you. So it's a matter of building your database. So you want to have a database of leads and your clients. So it's some sort of tagging system, ideally, that you can separate, who's who on your database, who are actual clients, who are leads. And the other one that we haven't mentioned yet is referral partners. So, if you've
Yes.
got real estate agents that refer you work, or strata companies, people that are referring you work, get them onto a separate database, or in your database tagged as, a referral partner. And then what you want to be doing is keeping in touch with absolutely all of those people. Now, if you're time poor, you might just have a standard email that you send out to everyone. Or you might tailor make the emails to your referral partners, or to your clients and to your leads, so that you're slightly varying it with who they are. But
Yeah.
that referral partner list is like gold when you're going to sell. If they know that you've got a list of 20 real estate or stratas or whoever that refer to you, and you're happy to give that database over and do a warm email handover saying, look, guys, I've sold my business. These are the new owners. They're absolutely amazing. They've been shadowing me for the last month. I'm really impressed with their services. Here they are. And then obviously those new owners would then maybe follow that up a couple of days later with another email, even a phone call, just to cement those relationships that have been built over that time. So,
Yeah.
like I said, get that database happening. There's lots of CRMs that you can put into your business that help with all of that. Or, like I said, you don't have to have it fancy. You could do it in Google Sheets or Excel if you want to, but make sure you get that database happening.
Yeah, that's a really great tip. And so you mentioned the shadowing aspect, that transition time. How much of that are buyers wanting, or what's the best practical way? So you mentioned the shadowing. So they sort of that, a month or whatever it is, they're just watching and handing over. So sometimes they want the founder to stick around for a length of time to get those relationships established, or do people prefer just to go with a clean slate and the founder to go away because he's an interruption, or going to cause more harm than good? What's your take
An
on that?
interesting question. It depends on the buyer and the seller, really, because some buyers literally they just want the digital handover, especially if they're already an established business. They just want the database. They just want to grow their business, perhaps grow their team with the staff, and they don't particularly want much of a handover. But if it's a new business owner going into a business that they're buying, 30 days is generally the standard. So the vendor will work with them for around 30 days, just holding their hand, seeing if they've got any questions, explaining how it all works, introducing them to key people. But some buyers do want longer. You won't probably find many vendors that want to stay on for 6 months or a year. Otherwise, they wouldn't be selling it. So 30 days is generally what we see.
Yeah. Okay. And so that gives them a chance to, if they've got really strong referral partners, that realistically they're not going to have thousands of them. That they might have, half a dozen, really, really solid referral partners that they really want to create that strong connection, because it's a relationship sort of thing. That makes sense. And so with your team, so do they look at who you've employed and how long they've been around, and the reliability of them sticking around? Because I suppose they'd be super keen if they've got a team that they would stay. How do they look at that?
Yeah, it's a case by case situation. Most of the time, team members are looking to stay on with a new owner, unless you've got an owner that's going to totally disrupt the whole team and cause their life living hell. You will generally find that a buyer won't want to lose the team members, because often they have a relationship with the clients and the referrers, and sometimes it's really hard to get good tradies. So if there's good traders in the business that have got some sort of relationship, the buyers will generally want to keep those people in the team. And I think it's important that, as a business owner, another tip is to make sure that it's not only you that has got the relationship with all these people. Because if you can say, look, this electrician has worked for me for 10 years, he knows all the clients, he knows the referrers, then they're more likely to say, well, have some comfort around the fact that it's not just the owner that has those relationships that they're buying.
Yeah. And so with we touched on the multiples. What kind of is there broadly speaking, what kind of multiple are we looking at? And maybe just explain how that kind of works.
So the multiples are worked out based on, number one, what the profit is. So, and I don't do the appraisals, so I'm not going to give you exact figures because I don't know what they are. But so our appraisal team does this. But basically what happens is, if you've got a profitable business that's running at a profit of under 100,000 and it's owner operated, that's going to get your lowest multiple. Then it increases, the multiples start going up after that. So say you've still got the same profit level, but it's partially managed. So you've got a team that does most of the work and then you just work in the business part-time or work on the business, that gets a
Right.
better multiple. And then the highest multiple is the ones where they're fully operated and the owner doesn't have any involvement in the day-to-day work. So say they might do, I don't know, 5 hours a week just checking on things or whatever, but it's completely managed by a team or a team of people. So
Yeah.
then the multiples increase as that profit margin goes up. So businesses with say more
Right.
than 100,000 up to 150, and then it has a sliding scale that goes up from there. So yes, the more profit you can get and the less involvement you as the owner has is going to get you the highest multiple that you can achieve.
Yeah. Yeah. Just thinking it through. So how to get that number as high as you can. So I suppose one way of looking at it, if you're planning an exit, is to think about maybe ramping up things like marketing to really grow and accelerate your growth for a time, and then maybe you can dial it back a touch, so that spend isn't quite as high as what it might have been in the growth phase. So then your numbers are stacking up even better. Do
Yeah,
people
you want
kind
to
of
be
think that?
stacking up as well. Sorry, what was that last question?
Yeah, do people sort of think about that? So that spend quite, invest in the growth strategies for a season, for a number of whatever the a few years, and then dial it back a bit. So then the numbers are better, showing better for the few years before sale. Is that something
Oh,
people sort of?
absolutely. If you're ramping up your business and you're working on it, you probably will be spending more on marketing, maybe even a business coach, trying to
Mhm.
improve your figures and your bottom line. So it's not just about, the revenue, it's about the bottom line and making that business as profitable as you possibly can. And of
Yeah,
course, you can overspend on things. So you just want to be making sure that whatever money you are spending really is improving the revenue and the bottom line. So,
yeah,
smart marketing strategies and yes, you could dial it back in the last 12 months as long as that's not going to drop the revenue, because if you start seeing
yes,
your revenue drop, you're going to spook the buyers. They're going to want to know why. Why is this revenue dropping?
yeah. Yeah, so the way I see it from my side of things is, if you were to think about that, like SEO, search engine optimization, it does take time. So you could look at doing that and ramping it up over a number of years, getting to a point. You're not going to fall off a cliff once you've got really strong rankings. You could probably dial that back a touch, and then all of a sudden your expenditure's down in the marketing department, but your profit hasn't dropped off because your profits increase because the sales haven't fallen off a
And
cliff.
then
So
you've just got to keep on top of those clients that you've picked up through your marketing and make sure
yeah,
that your revenue is staying stable. Definitely.
and the founder's salary, how does that work in? Because presumably people are sometimes not paying themselves a typical wage that they would have if they were employed. Um,
Mm.
is
Yes,
that
that's
kind of
right. So
how do they figure that out?
well, what happens is the owner's wage or the owner's drawings or whatever gets added to the profit margin. So when we're working out those multiples, the owner's income is taken out. So that way we work out what the profit plus the owner's income is, and that's why we work out the amended net profit of the business.
Yeah, okay. So roughly speaking, if you were to figure out so if you're just one and the same in the business, you take drawings, whatever it is. So if you kind of figure out roughly speaking what you would be paid, if you're an employee, and deduct that from the total, then that's the true business profit that potentially you'll get a multiple.
Well, for one, you'll get the multiple even adding back that whole owner's wage. So for
Yeah,
one person, like the owner, we add that wage on top of the profit and then the multiples worked out on that. If you've
yes,
got two owners, for example, which is really common as well, we normalize that one owner's profit. They might be overpaying themselves drastically or even underpaying themselves drastically. So we
yeah,
normalize that wage and then work the multiple out based on what would we normally be paying someone in that role.
Yeah, got it. Because sometimes if it's a couple, a family business, maybe there's two people getting a smaller salary or something, and whereas realistically speaking, there's one that should have been earning a higher income and less, but they've got the numbers a certain way for their own reasons. That makes a
And we
lot of
see it the
sense.
other way around as well. We'll see,
Yeah,
where if you were employing, and I don't know what wages a Sparky earns, but for example, they might be paying themselves 200,000 a year, and you could employ one for 100. So we do all of that adjusting. So it doesn't really matter whether you're overpaying or underpaying. When we do the appraisals, we do adjust all of that. So that
yeah,
part of it is okay. You can pay yourself as much or as little as you like, and then that's all accounted for when the appraisal's done.
goes through. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So for your, because obviously you're on the Gold Coast, but it'd be similar all around Australia, and the same principles will apply, no doubt, globally. But how do you see the market right now? Do you think there's people out there shopping for businesses, or we often hear of the aging population and potentially a bunch of people, eventually looking to either close up shop or exit in some way. Is there more businesses coming on the market as a consequence of that, or is that predicted to occur at any given time? Or?
There is, depending on the industries. So, yes, aging population with business owners looking to retire, taking advantage of some of the tax incentives that are out there if they've owned the business for a certain number of years. There's all sorts of reasons that people sell. But one thing to know is that 80% roughly of businesses that go to market don't sell. So you want to give yourself the absolute best chance of selling possible. And the ways to do that are, number one, make sure that it's priced right. A lot of people go to market at really unrealistic prices. You don't want to do that. You want to use a professional broker that's going to handle the sale professionally, represent your business professionally, and be on top of every single buyer. So, you want to make sure that your inquiries are answered same day, on top of them, following up, answering questions quickly and professionally, presenting documents properly. So, if you're going to sell, you want to make sure that an accountant has prepared your financials, not just you out of your zero. Do things properly, present in the absolute best manner possible with, like I said, as much as you can with your lead sources, your referral lists, or all the things, little things that you can be doing in the years that you're building your business, so that one day when you want to sell, it's ready to sell and it's easy to sell.
Yeah,
Businesses that are well presented sell. With businesses that aren't making profit, or they're complicated, or they're too hard to take over, they sit on the market and they don't sell.
yeah. And so to think that through, what else might cause, so the expectations, maybe someone feels as though their business is worth more than what realistically it might sell for. The other thing maybe, and you mentioned this as well, you can't sell a secret. So do you get a few people saying, hey, I want to sell my business, but I don't want anyone to know that it's up for sale? Is that kind of a thing? I can imagine it would be.
Oh, it totally is a thing, and it's a great thing. So what I was meaning by don't sell a secret is the part about the cash. You can't sell, oh, I take cash, but I can't tell you how much it is, and it doesn't go through the books. Well, that's the secret that we can't sell. For
Yes.
a business sale, we never ever list the business name unless the people are really adamant that they want people to know, because for two
Yeah.
reasons. Number one, it can, especially if you've got team members, it can spook the staff. It can also let the opposition know that you've got your business. Oh, they're selling. Don't go through them. Go through me. You don't
Yeah.
want your business name to be out in the marketplace as selling unless it's really, really necessary for the sale, which is very rare. So we
Yeah.
always use generic photos. We always use, vague descriptions of the business until
Yeah.
someone has signed a confidentiality agreement. We've checked their identification and made sure that they are a genuine buyer, not your opposition, trying to
Yeah.
find out information about your business and all of those sort of things. But like I said, it can spook staff as well. If you've got staff members that know that you're selling and like, oh my gosh, we're going to lose our jobs, and off they go. Next thing, you've got a business that hasn't got any team members left, and it's tricky. So we
Yeah.
don't recommend listing a name.
Yeah, it can be incredibly disruptive for a whole bunch of reasons, and that makes a lot of sense. So, and you put in the non-disclosure for the serious potential buyers to sign before they get that info. That's brilliant. I love what you're doing, and as you say, I think, and I agree wholeheartedly. You should build your business with the exit in mind. Even if you plan to do it for many years, something might change. Circumstances change all the time. So it's been a brilliant conversation. Is there anything we haven't covered? Any question I haven't asked that I should have, and what would be the answer to that?
No, I don't think so. I feel like we've covered pretty much everything. But the only thing that I would say is that, there's all sorts of options for a business sale. So, that we, for example, have a system called for sale by owner, and we get every single bit of marketing and everything done for you. It's just that the inquiries go to you. So even for a cheap business, there's options. So it doesn't matter whether you're looking at a really cheap exit or a millions of dollars exit. There's options out there. So don't think that just because you're a small business, you shouldn't be thinking about these extra exit strategies. And you mightn't be able to take on absolutely all of the suggestions that I've had, but at least take on some of them.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I mean, my ex-father-in-law, he now passed, but I think they only could sell for the assets. I think that business held just because that some of these things weren't built in. So if you don't build your business right, all you'll get is pittance for the few assets that you've got. Which get these things right, and who knows how much you might exit for, and even if you don't need money, you get that legacy to pass on to the generations that come after you. That all these things, it's worthwhile. You invest so much of your time and effort and put so much risk into business. You should be rewarded for that effort and to get these things right. I love this conversation. It's been brilliant. How should
No,
people
it's been
connect?
great. Thank you.
Yeah, how should people connect with you? Obviously, if they're in the Gold Coast or your region, you can serve them as well.
Oh, absolutely. So we actually sell businesses in Queensland and New South Wales. Happy to have conversations with anyone though. And so I've got a Facebook page. It's called Anita Marshall Business Broker. My email address is anita@goldcoastbusinessbrokers.com.au. And we also have a website, goldcoastbusinessbrokers.com.au. So any of those are fabulous. But I'd love you to reach out to me on Facebook and send me a message. Tell me if you've enjoyed the conversation, and it's been fabulous. I've really enjoyed being on here, and I hope that I've given some of your tradies some valuable tips.
Absolutely, and I'll put all the links in the show notes as well, so people can find you nice and easy. So thanks so much, Anita.
Amazing. Thank you for having me. Bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Built, Trusted, Chosen. Brought to you by Uplift 360. Visit uplift360.com.au.